Welcome to our deep dive.
Yeah.
We're going to be exploring a book that I think you're going to find really interesting. It's Florence Scovel Shinn's Your Word is Your Wand.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It is. It's all about how the words we speak have this kind of hidden power. Like we're casting spells with every sentence, shaping our health,
Right.
our wealth, our relationships.
It's a concept that has really resonated with people for a long time, actually. The book was published in 1928.
Wow.
And it's rooted in this movement called New Thought, which gained traction in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. And I think what's really fascinating is that people are still drawn to these ideas today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's something about taking control of your life, creating a more positive reality that really speaks to people.
For sure.
And Shinn just dives right in, from the very beginning with this bold statement. Man's word is his wand, filled with magic and power. And she connects this to the Bible. She actually quotes verses about the power of the spoken word.
Oh, interesting.
How our words can build us up or tear us down.
Oh, like Proverbs, right? Death and life are in the power of the tongue.
Yes, exactly. It's like she's taking this ancient wisdom and reframing it through the lens of new thought.
It makes you think about all the things we say without really thinking about the impact,
Definitely. And she really emphasizes this idea of the subconscious mind.
Right.
And how our words can actually impress it and create change.
Yeah, she talks about this imaging faculty, which is like a mental movie screen, right?
Yep.
Whatever we consistently project onto that screen, like those fears, doubts, or those positive affirmations,
Right.
it starts to take root. And it's not just wishful thinking, it's about shaping our inner world, which then influences what happens outside of us.
So it's like our brains don't really know the difference between something we vividly imagine and something that's actually happening.
Exactly. And the more we repeat these affirmations, the more we're kind of rewiring those neural pathways, which then influences our behaviors and outcomes. And what's really interesting is that neuroscience is actually starting to catch up to this idea.
Wow, that's fascinating. So there's actually scientific evidence to support this.
There is. There's growing evidence that visualization practices can actually change our brains and our lives.
So it's not just some kind of mystical woo-woo stuff.
Not at all. There's a real science to it.
It makes you think about all the possibilities. Right?
Yeah.
If we can change our reality with our words, then what can we achieve?
And Shinn uses all these stories and anecdotes throughout the book to illustrate this point, like the woman who had just $2 to her name.
Oh, yes. I love that story. The one where she affirmed abundance and then received this unexpected gift of $6,000.
Exactly. It's a powerful example of aligning our thoughts, words, and actions.
And then there's that other story, the one about the woman at sea who literally lifted a dense fog with her words.
Oh, right. That one always makes you think, doesn't it? Can we really control external events with just affirmations?
Right, it's a little mind-bending.
I think what Shinn is pointing to is this shift in perspective, this way of reclaiming our power in situations where we might feel powerless.
Okay, I can see that.
And she talks a lot about fearless faith, like believing that good things are coming, even when we can't see them yet.
So it's about aligning ourselves with that truth, that reality of abundance, health, happiness, whatever it is we're seeking.
Exactly. And she believes that doing that can influence our circumstances, even those things that seem completely outside of our control.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
But I'm a little stuck on the action part. Like, is it really enough to just affirm what we want?
That's where this idea of active faith comes in. It's not just about saying the words, it's about taking inspired action as well.
Okay, so like putting our faith into action.
Exactly. She uses this example of a woman who needed to buy a lamp before renting her room. It wasn't enough to just affirm a tenant. She had to take that step, that inspired action, and trust that the good was already on its way.
So it's like meeting the universe halfway.
Yeah. Right. It's about recognizing that we're co-creating our reality, not just passively waiting for things to happen. Our words plant the seeds, but action helps them grow.
That makes total sense. I'm thinking about Magnolia Charlie, the shoemaker. He seemed so content with his routine, but you could tell he was yearning for something more.
Oh, yeah, Charlie. What a great example.
It's like he was sensing that divine design within him, but didn't quite know how to access it.
Exactly. And that makes you wonder, what's holding us back?
Right. It's like, what are those limiting beliefs or routines that are keeping us from stepping into our full potential?
That's a good question to ask ourselves.
It's like we all have this blueprint for an amazing life, but we don't always know how to read it.
Right. And Shinn talks about these hunches as being like messages from our higher selves, guiding us toward that path that's meant for us.
So how do we know if it's a real hunch or just, wishful thinking?
It's about learning to trust that inner voice, even if it doesn't make logical sense,
Right.
or it seems a little impractical at the time.
So it's like our intuition is kind of like a cosmic GPS.
I like that analogy. Yeah, it's not giving us turn-by-turn directions. It's more like a gentle nudge in the right direction.
I can get behind that.
Yeah.
And sometimes those nudges lead us to some pretty unexpected places, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And they can push us out of our comfort zones, too. Do you remember that story about the woman trying to rent a room?
Wait, is this the one where Shinn said something like, $4 is standing between you and the perfect man?
That's the one. The woman had this hunch to buy a lamp for the room, but she was like, no, that's silly.
Yeah.
It's an extra expense. I don't need to do that.
I would probably done the same thing.
Right. But Shinn helped her see that sometimes those small actions, when they're guided by intuition, they can totally change the game.
It's like we have to show the universe that we're serious.
Exactly. We got to create that space for the good to flow in.
I love that. And speaking of creating space, what about Shinn's perspective on prosperity? This idea of the magic purse that never runs dry.
It's such a powerful concept, right?
It is, but it's also a little hard to wrap your head around. Is she talking about actual magic here?
Well, not literal magic, but it is about shifting our beliefs about abundance. You see, Shinn believes our supply isn't limited by external factors.
Okay.
It's limited by our own internal thoughts and feelings.
Oh, I see.
So the magic purse represents this unlimited source that's always available to us, but we got to align with it mentally and spiritually.
So it's about seeing God or the universe or whatever resonates with you as the ultimate provider.
Exactly. It's that trust that we're always supported and provided for, and then letting go of those fears of lack and scarcity.
It is easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
Especially in today's world.
It is. It is. But stories like the one about the woman who reluctantly visited her friend,
Oh, yeah.
but decided to be generous throughout her stay,
Right.
and then ended up receiving a surprise $500 check, those stories give you hope.
That's such a great illustration of how generosity isn't about depleting our resources, but actually opening up those channels for more abundance.
Absolutely. It's about shifting from that scarcity mindset to one of abundance,
Right.
both in our thoughts and our actions.
I know Shinn talks a lot about health, too.
She does, and she has some pretty interesting views on that.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by her use of the word sin when talking about illness.
I know, it can sound a bit outdated.
But it seems like she's basically talking about negative thought patterns and emotions that create disharmony in the body.
You got it. Things like resentment, fear, anger, even criticism. She believed they could all have this detrimental impact on our well-being.
So it's about more than just avoiding unhealthy habits.
Exactly.
It's about cultivating this positive inner state that promotes healing.
Absolutely. It's like those negative emotions create energetic blockages that prevent us from experiencing true health.
Interesting. And she gives all these specific affirmations for different ailments around.
She does. She does. Like for vision problems, she suggests affirmations like, my eyes are God's eyes. I see clearly. There are no obstacles on my pathway.
It makes you wonder how much our thoughts and beliefs are actually contributing to our physical experiences.
It's a powerful connection. And it's interesting. There's actually a whole field of study now called psychoneuroimmunology.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
It's all about exploring that mind-body connection.
Wow.
And how our thoughts and emotions impact our immune system.
That's amazing. So Shinn was kind of ahead of her time in a way.
In many ways, she was.
So it's not about ditching conventional medicine.
Right.
It's about recognizing that mind-body connection and taking a more holistic approach.
You got it. It's about being active participants in our own well-being and using those words and thoughts to create a more harmonious inner state.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, with all this talk about aligning with our divine design and creating a positive reality, I'm curious about relationships. Where do other people fit into this?
Well, Shinn was a big believer in oneness in relationships, especially marriage. She felt like couples needed to be on the same thought street to truly thrive.
Thought street. What does that even mean?
It means sharing those same values, aspirations, and beliefs. She used this analogy of one person living on Fifth Avenue, surrounded by abundance, and the other stuck on Third Avenue, focused on lack.
Wow, that's such a clear image. So you're saying if you're vibrating in different frequencies, it creates friction in the relationship.
Exactly. And it's not about trying to change our partner, but about finding someone who's already aligned with our vision for life.
Someone who complements us
Yes.
and supports our growth. It makes me think about those relationships where you're constantly trying to pull each other up. Or maybe one person's always trying to bring the other down. Maybe that's a sign you're not on that same thought street.
It could be. And Shinn also talked about the importance of seeing your partner as God sees them.
Okay.
Recognizing their inherent perfection and loving them unconditionally.
That's a beautiful thought.
It is. It's about choosing to focus on those positive qualities and supporting their highest potential.
Which is not always easy.
No, it's not. But it's powerful stuff.
It is. And speaking of powerful, I was really struck by Shinn's perspective on forgiveness. She doesn't mess around with that.
She doesn't. She's very direct.
She says, I forgive everyone, and everyone forgives me. The gates swing open for my good. I call upon the law of forgiveness. I am free from mistakes and the consequences of mistakes.
Powerful words. She believed that holding on to resentment and anger was like closing the door on our own good.
So it's not about condoning what someone did.
Yeah.
No, but about freeing ourselves from that negative energy.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that everyone makes mistakes and choosing to release those hurts.
Right.
Not for them, but for us.
It's about creating space for new blessings.
Beautifully said.
And it all ties back to this idea of taking responsibility for our own thoughts and emotions.
Right.
And creating a reality that's aligned with our highest good.
You've got it. You see, Shinn's work is like this guidebook for conscious living.
I like that.
It's about recognizing the power we have to shape our experiences through our thoughts, words, and actions.
It's about stepping into that role of co-creator.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
We're wielding that magic wand of our words to manifest our dreams.
I love that visual. So powerful.
It is. And remember what Shinn wrote. It shall not return unto my void, but shall accomplish that whereunto it is sent.
Wow. It's a message of hope and empowerment.
It really is. And as we wrap up our deep dive into Your Word is Your Wand, I'm curious, what's resonated most deeply with you?
I think what really sticks with me is just how much power we have in shaping our reality.
Yeah.
Like, it's both exciting and a little intimidating at the same time.
Oh, for sure. It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
But the good news is, Shinn gives us some very practical tools to work with. You know, the book is packed with affirmations
Right.
for all sorts of situations. Prosperity, success, relationships, you name it.
It's like a whole toolbox full of different, like you said, tools or even spells to create what we want in our lives.
Exactly. And it's up to us to choose the ones that resonate most deeply. The ones that really speak to our hearts.
Yeah, and repeat them consistently with that feeling, that conviction.
Absolutely. And Shinn always emphasized that it's not about mindlessly chanting these words.
Right.
It's about imbuing them with emotion, really believing in their power.
And she had so many stories
Oh, so many.
of people who used these affirmations and saw amazing results. Like the woman who sold her house
Oh, yeah.
and all her furniture in the middle of a blizzard.
That's the one that always gets me. Talk about unwavering faith.
I know, right? Instead of getting discouraged by the weather, she just focused on that affirmation. I give thanks that this article or property is now sold to the right person or persons for the right price, giving perfect satisfaction.
And then she went about her business.
I know.
Polished the furniture, got everything ready as if the sale was already a done deal.
It's like she willed it to happen.
And you know what? It worked. People braved the blizzard, bought everything.
Amazing.
It's proof that faith plus action can really move mountains.
And she has advice for job seekers too, right?
She does. She does. Encourages them to see themselves already in that perfect position, doing fulfilling work.
Affirming that the right opportunity is out there waiting for them.
Yes, and taking those practical steps too, like updating resumes, networking, but doing it all with this underlying confidence that they're guided and supported.
So it's not about just sitting around and wishing for things to happen.
No, not at all.
Or trying to force things through sheer will.
Right.
It's about finding that balance.
Absolutely. That sweet spot between inspired action and trust in the unfolding of our divine plan.
And that's where those hunches come in again, right? Paying attention to those little nudges, even when they don't make logical sense.
Exactly. Sometimes the path less traveled is the one that leads to the greatest rewards.
I love that. And, you know, this whole conversation has really got me thinking about how often we limit ourselves with negative self-talk.
It's so easy to do. We're often our own worst critics.
What would happen if we consciously shifted that inner dialogue?
That's such a good question.
What if we start speaking to ourselves with more kindness, encouragement, belief.
The possibilities are endless.
They really are.
And that's what I hope people take away from this deep dive into your word is your wand. That we have so much more power than we realize.
Yes.
Our words can create, they can heal, they can transform. Choose them wisely, speak them with conviction, and then watch the magic unfold.
That's a beautiful message. And to all our listeners out there, we encourage you to explore Shinn's work for yourselves.
Yes, do it.
You won't regret it. There's so much wisdom there that can help you create the life you truly desire. Until next time, keep those magic wands waving.